every day you have the power to choose, and you can choose your attitudes, and you can choose to seek help, and then hopefully see at one point that the hardship that you faced was an opportunity to grow, and that you take from it something that will really serve you to the rest of your life.
Turning adversity into strength is an art that we can all learn. And I'm very delighted to welcome today Anna Stando, who will share with us how we can build resilience and turn adversity into strength. She will share her own experience based on her personal journey and on the stories of others that she has witnessed in her work. Welcome, Anna. Do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Welcome. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here, Ulrika. I'm delighted to be part of it. I am a person who really likes to be involved in many different ways. So involved in many different projects and initiatives. So I wear multiple hats at the moment. I am working as a relations manager for a nonprofit called Advance Gender Equality in Business. And I am also on the leadership team of an organization called Lean In. I am also a board member of Capacity Zurich, which is a nonprofit that works with refugees and migrants who would like to start their own business or a sociocultural initiative in Switzerland. And I'm also a mother of two, and I have a small side hustle called Baby Miles, where I am selling a special type of a silicone breast pump that, where we aim to make the process of expressing breast milk as easy and as pleasant as possible for mothers. And you've invited me to be here today and to share what I have learned, because I have had some hardships along the way. And it started with me growing up in a dysfunctional household. Unfortunately, both of my parents were addicted to alcohol, and that's a disease that really affects not only the person that is suffering from it, but entire families and entire ecosystems. And this was something that I really needed to deal with from very early on. I think between, from the age of 7, it had really become very clear that this was not going away and it was not going to get better. And from my childhood and teenage years, I dealt with a lot of insecurity, with a lot of stress, and with many hardships that were actually a consequence of the illness. And then later in life, I dealt with, the more usual, the heartaches. I went through a divorce. I also needed to deal with miscarriage or a death of my mother a few years ago. Luckily, everything is well now. I'm going through a very good period of my life, and I'm here today to share what has kept me going when it was tough, and what I have learned also from my friends and what I have witnessed in my work, because hardships are a part of our life, and we all, have different things that we need to go through, and some things can make it better.
Thank you for sharing this very personal story today, Anna. And I think it is something that is probably very interesting and inspiring for people who go through similar things in their life, or who will go through through hardships. We don't know what is waiting for us. And what is your message certainly today will be that it doesn't break you. It is about coming out even stronger, and is about how to turn this type of hardship into strength, into power for the rest of your life. Now, why is it so important to turn adversity into strength?
Mm-hmm. So I think actually that the hardships can really break you, right? I that's absolutely possible, and they do break a lot of people. But there are many things that we can do to actually turn the hardships in a source of inner strength, and that this is a far more attractive option than not doing that. And truly, it's the only option, right? If we ever want to be happy again, if we want to be present, if we want to plan our future with enthusiasm, then we need to work through the difficult times and the difficult circumstances and the difficult things that are being thrown at us or that happened in the past. And even though it is so hard at times to face these challenges, this is really the only way to move forward. And because if we don't, right, then those hardships are going to define us, and they are going to cut our wings, and they are going to prevent us from fulfilling our potential. And in that way, we are going to give up on life. And we shouldn't, because life is beautiful, despite the fact that it's very hard at times. There is a concept that I really like and that really helped me personally, and it's called the free peace. A psychologist, Martin Seligman, he studied how people deal with difficult events in their lives, and he found out that the so-called free peace have a tremendous impact on how quickly we can recover from a hardship. So the free peace, they stand for personalization, perseverance, pervasiveness, and permanence. So personalization means that we believe that whatever is happening to us, it's our fault. Pervasiveness means that we believe that the negative effect of that event will affect all areas of our life. And permanence means that we think that it will always be as bad, and in our heads it goes like this, right? This is awful and it's my fault. That's the personalization, right? Actually, my whole life is awful. That's the pervasiveness. And then the permanence is, and it always be so bad, right? So if we are able to avoid falling into the trap of the free peace, if we can ask ourselves these questions, is it really true? Then we will be able to bounce back faster from whatever it is that we are facing. And we have all been there. And I think, when I read about it, I was like, I've been there. And it's so easy to do that, when we are facing our darkest times. It's natural to think in that way, but we shouldn't, right? So we should always remember that hardships are actually temporary, and that means that if we are open to see them as an opportunity to grow, then we can gain something from them that will serve us for the rest of our life.
Yeah, a powerful message, because what you say is actually, it's all about the conclusions we take. It's not so much about what happens to us. It's rather about how we react to it and how we handle this. And this kind of goes hand in hand with taking full accountability for our lives, even if something bad happens, even if bad things happen, which we can't influence. Because we can't influence always what happens to us, obviously, but we can influence how we handle the situation, and we can take the energy and the strength to handle it in a way so that we turn this adversity into strength. That's the whole topic of this talk. And what I find really interesting now, by building on this, is what can overcoming adversity teach us? What can you learn from that?
Yes. Well, I think we have all our different, all of us have different things, different hardships, and therefore, and we react in different ways. And therefore, the lessons that we learn will look differently for each of us. But there is always the silver lining. And I think that's the most important thing to remember, even though we often can't see it when we are in the middle of it. And often these things come after we have persevered. But I believe that at the very least, going through an adversity will lead to self-reflection and deep knowledge and deep self-knowledge. And frankly speaking, you can never have too much of that, right? Knowing how you tick, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, will really help you to navigate other areas of your life more successfully. And sometimes going through adversity can make you better place to help others, right? So I see a lot of that in within my friends and at my work as well. I have friends who went through truly horrendous experiences, and they have made it into their life mission to help others, right? They have developed a lot of empathy, and they understand what people are going through, and they know how to help because they know what helped them. And for example, at Capacity, right, and the nonprofit organization that works with refugees and migrants, all our team has refugee and or migrant experience, and therefore they really understand our participants, right, our entrepreneurs. And then all these entrepreneurs that are in our program, they all have their own stories of hardship, and and hardship and perseverance. And many of them want to make sure that their success in Switzerland leads to some positive change in their home communities. And I have also seen that, going through something traumatic means that you find your purpose, right? You realize what's truly important for you. And you can make a change then that will make, your life after the hardship better than it was before in many ways, or more meaningful at least. And I think that's the most beautiful about hardship, if you can call something beautiful when it comes to facing hardships. But I think let me put it that way. I think this is the most beautiful silver lining that there is. That once you have been through something, you are able to help others. Although facing adversity has many other, pragmatic benefits as well. It can, for example, teach you certain skills. So in my case, growing up in a household with both parents being severely sick, it taught me resourcefulness, right? It taught me flexibility. It taught me how to be comfortable with uncertainty, and those skills, they really helped me to survive back then. But they are also skills that come in very handy now, with when life is not as hard as it used to be, but there are always things where I can really draw on those skills. And last but not least, I believe that once you have been through something and you realize that you have persevered, you will gain a lot of self-confidence, right? So it will teach you self-confidence. It will really show you that whatever you need to face next, you will be able to do. And when life throws you the proverbial lemons, you will actually be able to make lemonade. And I think going through hardship also really allows you to be more at ease when stepping out of the comfort zone, right? It can make you more daring, right? Because you don't want to waste anything. You don't want to waste the gift, right? That is life once you have persevered. Yeah. So these are the things that I've seen, as a benefit, let's say, to overcoming hardships.
Yeah. So what you said is, on the one hand, you can find a purpose for your life. You can find something more meaningful because suddenly the values shift. What is important shifts. Probably you don't look at so many annoying details anymore because they're not really important. And you go for something that is more towards your own core, probably. And I think this is an important and interesting message, especially in these pandemic times, because this is one of the rare positive side effects, probably, of these pandemic times, that people realize that what is the meaning of their life? Where do they truly want to go? What do they want to change? And that they come back maybe to the things that are really important for them, like friendships or family relationships in general, or maybe also the job they are doing, or they don't want to do anymore and want to do something more purposeful. So this is the one area which is really interesting. And the other one, which you said, is about that you learn new skills, indeed, because you're a bit of a crisis manager at the same time then when you have such a hardship. And this teaches you quite a lot of skills.
That's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, and again, when we come back to what you said before in earlier in this talk, it is really about the conclusions which you take. Yeah, you can decide to use your hardships as an excuse why things are not working in your life, or why you can't do maybe more daring things. Or on the other hand, you can say, "Hey, I went through this. I'm still alive. It was painful, but I'm still alive, and my life is still ahead of me. So what can I do with what have I learned?" And what I see also in my work with women is that in these hardships, we often develop a very particular strength, or detect even one that we have never seen before, because we have never needed it before. And life gives you a specific strength in particular difficult times. And this is where you discover a whole new area of your personality. And if you are able to build on this, then you develop yourself and you get stronger, indeed. Now, interesting, obviously, for the audience is when you shared your own story, where you had different hardships, different crises, let's say, in your life where you had to go through. What exactly did you apply for yourself? What has worked? What is something tangible that one can do to go through a hardship or to take something positive out of it?
Yes. So in my experience, the most important thing to do is to really talk about the hardship. And I've been talking about hardships to many different things. And I think there are a few things that keep coming back. And one of them is the fact that it's important to talk about it and to acknowledge that sometimes it's really too much to face on your own. And when it's too much to face it on your own, you should really seek professional help, right? There's no shame in it. And I needed it at a certain time in my life. And I'm so glad that I did. But talking to others, right? May it be with a professional, or may it be with a friend or a family member, or anyone that you trust, can do a lot of very good things for you. So I think on one hand, it will show you that you are not alone in your suffering, and that's important, right? We all need to know that we are not alone, and being actually a part of a community that has been through something similar may really help you to recover quicker. There is actually quite a lot of evidence that talking to people who have been through a similar hardship is the best, because they are the people who are who are the best placed to help you to overcome whatever it is, because they can give you hope, right? That that it's possible. So you can also really listen to to stories of other people. You can read biographies. You can watch movies. You can listen to podcasts. Where you have people all sharing what they have overcome and how. And you can really take a lot of inspiration and strength from it. So one of the favorite podcasts that I listen to is called the Rose Stories podcast by Fungi Mettler. And if there is one episode that you should listen to, there is this. It's an episode that is it's the first episode of season 2, and Fungi has a very candid conversation there with her guest about their stories, and it really made me well up. But it also finishes always with a spark of joy and with hope, and we can all use it in our lives. So listening and reading about people who have done it might be a source of inspiration, and then talking really about it, right? Because you will see that you are not alone, that there are others. And in my case, and from what I heard from other people, is that the more you talk about it, the more you are able to process it. right? The more you understand what really happened, the more you know how you react to certain things, right? It leads to that self-knowledge, and over time, talking sets you free, right? It allows you to take distance, and once you have overcome, right? Once you are on the other side, let's say, if you keep talking about it, you will become that source of inspiration that others were to you before. And again, as I said, I believe this is the best silver lining that there is to overcoming hardships. Recently, I shared my story in more detail on Fungai's podcast, and then I got so many messages from friends and from people that I've never met before, that all contained some sort of a message that read as follow: "Thank you very much for sharing, and this is exactly what I needed to hear right now." Right, and if going through hardship is not fun, but knowing that you can help at least one people by sharing your story and your story of perseverance is I don't know how I'm in lack of words.
Well, I would say
the best gift you can give to others. Yeah,
I think it's a whole power of sharing vulnerability. The topic would be here very often, and many people don't really know what is meant by that.
Yeah.
How do I show my vulnerability? I think it's exactly that, not just showing the glossy surface, which you might have, because we all have something that is not so glossy.
Yes.
And if it's actually something that hurts, really sharing it in a certain way, maybe not with anyone, but why not? Yeah, like you do it today, by the way, as well. You share it publicly.
We all need to find our audience, right? If you are comfortable with sharing it with a friend, do it with a friend. If you're more comfortable sharing it with a stranger, do it, right? If it's with a professional, because you need that professional help, go for it. And when you're ready to share it with a wider circle, by all means, do, because other people can benefit from it. But coming back to the solutions, I would like to mention a few more. And I've already touched upon the 3 Ps, right, at the beginning. And so if we can, if we are facing a difficult circumstance, a difficult situation, and if we can ask ourselves, okay, is it really my fault? Is it really affecting all areas of our lives? Of my life, is it really something that's going to last forever, right? And if we're honest with each other, we're probably going to realize that not all 3 Ps are true, and probably none of them is true. And being able to distance ourselves from those 3 Ps will allow us to recover quicker. And sometimes another thing that maybe is counterintuitive is that thinking about how your situation could be worse make you realize that there is actually quite a lot that is right in your world. And it really makes you to appreciate all the good things that there are. So we all need to look for ways that work for us. And for me, being grateful for the good things, often by imagining how things could have been worse, has really worked. And once we have really been through something difficult, then this can really be a source of inner strength for us. Life is life, and we know that most probably we will all need to face multiple hardships in our lives. And when we are faced with a new one, if we can look back at how we have dealt with something in the past and what worked well and what have we learned about ourselves, and just realizing that we have overcome, can help us to deal with whatever the new situation is. So it's important to actually acknowledge that we have struggled and we have overcome. Because I have been there myself, and I have seen many people dismissing their experiences, saying, that's nothing. Many other people have it harder. That's true. Many other people have it harder. But this is your challenge. This is your hardship. And, make it your own your story, and give yourself that pat on the shoulder that, you have managed, and you can manage again. And that reminds me that just the other day I heard that, the Oprah, she wrote a letter to her younger self, a letter of encouragement. And she said that we should all write letters to our younger selves and think about what would that letter say? What did we learn over the last years? And I actually sat down and wrote that letter to myself when I was 19, and when I was just leaving Poland and leaving that toxic situation, and going to search for luck and happiness abroad. And I was really scared, right? But I wrote the letter to myself, and I realized, thanks to that exercise, that I was like, wow, if I was able to achieve so much with so little, what can I do now, when everything is actually right in my life? And that my younger self has actually become a little bit more, has become a source of inspiration for myself. So maybe just one more thing that I think is really, really good. What I am mentioning here, these are just a few things that worked for me, and I often hear them, in stories of my friends as well, or at work, that, talking sets people free, especially talking, right? But by all means, this is not a very exhaustive list of solutions, and different things work for different people. But there is a book called Option B by Adam Grant and Sheryl Sandberg, and it is really about overcoming difficulties. And on one hand, it can really give you a very, a very good overview of what you can do to build resilience. And on the other hand, if you are having somebody in your life who is struggling through something, that book will also really show you how to help them in the best way. Because sometimes it's really challenging to know what to say and how to help those who struggle.
Thank you very much for this pretty long list of takeaways. Before I wrap it up very quickly, because we're coming to the end, you said something which was ringing a bell to me.
Yeah.
I thought this is a very nice point that is happening actually every day. You said at some point that many people are dismissing their hardships because they think they're not hard enough as hardships, or they just feel it's a problem, but it's not a major one, and others have it harder. And I think this is the whole point also, where we miss an opportunity of building self-esteem. Because many people are searching for more confidence in themselves, which is based on their self-esteem, their self-worth. And this comes also from acknowledging, and this was the first thing you said also, that it's about acknowledging that something's going on here, acknowledging that you're in a difficult situation, and acknowledging that you overcame this situation, even if it was not a tremendously huge crisis. But just acknowledging this deliberately and then moving on, obviously, is certainly a very good way to also build up the self-esteem and to build up this power and this strength day by day, because we very often face many hardships. So to take this away also in a life which is not maybe made of big crises is also a very interesting takeaway. I will now be very, very short in just wrapping up I have noted now 6 points in total. One was really about process it by speaking about it, and also by listening to others. The second one came back to the 3 Ps, which were about, is it personal, is it pervasive, is it permanent? And to really ask honestly, is it true? And coming to the conclusion that probably it's not. And so that you can move on and build something positive out of it. The third one was the counterintuitive, what could be even worse? And to build gratitude, even if you're in a hardship in doing this. Then the fourth one, what was I just mentioned, is about not dismissing it, really acknowledging it, and being proud of overcoming this. And then number 5 was the nice idea of Oprah writing a letter to your younger self, which I like a lot. It's something very simple to do. And I think doing this even out of hardship can be a very interesting exercise, because when you look back 20 years, 15 years, whatever, then you realize the whole journey that you have made already since then. Now, if you had to pick one or choose whatever takeaway, one single takeaway for the audience that they can apply from tomorrow onwards, what would you choose?
Yes, I think when we are facing hardship, the most powerful thing that we can do for ourselves is to build the muscle of our gratitude, right? So being grateful and acknowledging all the good things in our lives, it can really help to lift our spirit. And I realize that even though it's hard now, there are many things and many people that make our life beautiful, and it's worth keep going and and fight to overcome.
Thank you so much for watching this talk. If you haven't subscribed yet, click here, follow us on Instagram, or become active yourself in our LinkedIn group. I am very much looking forward to having you on board. You are important, and together we can make a difference. See you next time.